Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into the science of healthy aging. We're focusing on what you need to prioritize right now to maintain, vitality, resilience, and maybe most importantly, true independence as you get older. We took a whole stack of research, and we've basically distilled the key insights from experts, all summarized in this text: resistance training for lifelong strength and resilience. And the core message is, well, it's really powerful. We often obsess over one type of exercise, but these sources argue we are overlooking the single most critical thing for our future health. Our mission here is to shortcut your journey to, being really well informed about this often missed foundation of longevity. We're going to unpack the argument that while cardio is mandatory, there is another type of exercise that is just far more powerful for long-term functional health. Okay, let's unpack this.
It really is all about making sure that the years you add to your life are high-quality, functional years.
Yeah.
The research is pretty clear on this. The biggest threat to our independence isn't necessarily heart disease anymore. It's frailty. It's loss of mobility. And this is where the conversation really has to start shifting.
So let's start exactly where the sources do with cardio. I mean, it has this incredible reputation, and nobody's suggesting we stop running or walking. So why is it essential, but ultimately not quite enough to secure our future?
Yeah, we have to emphasize that. Cardiovascular exercise is, let's say, the foundation of your engine maintenance. It's non-negotiable. It keeps your heart muscle strong. It maintains healthy circulation. It lowers blood pressure, improves endurance.
Reduces your risk of heart disease. The big stuff.
The big stuff. It's absolutely fundamental.
And for anyone listening who's trying to follow that research-backed advice, what are the basic cardio recommendations the sources point to? What should we be aiming for?
Well, the recommendations are actually quite practical. Simple things like walking every day and hitting reliable step goals. That's powerful stuff. But for systemic health, for longevity, the source material specifically highlights the value of adding in light zone 2 cardio sessions every week.
Zone 2. That sounds a little technical. If you're not tracking your heart rate with a fancy watch, what does zone 2 actually feel like, and why is it so important?
That's a great question. Zone 2 just refers to keeping your heart rate in a range that's sustainable, where you're still aerobic.
So you can keep going for a long time.
Exactly. The practical term is the conversational pace. You should be able to speak in full sentences, but you probably shouldn't be able to, sing a song.
Okay.
And this pace is so crucial because it specifically supports the health of your mitochondria.
The powerhouses of the cell.
The powerhouse of the cells, yeah. Building mitochondrial density is a key lever for improving your aerobic capacity and supporting metabolic recovery. It's just excellent for general longevity.
Okay, so that's a solid, necessary foundation for extending life. But this is where it gets really interesting. Once we've established that cardio protects the internal systems, the engine, the central sort of surprising claim from the source material is that muscle protects everything else.
That is the critical distinction.
Yeah.
Cardiovascular fitness preserves your heart, for sure.
Yeah.
But muscle mass, that preserves your future, your independence, your function. The huge limitation of cardio alone is that it does absolutely nothing to prevent two age-related issues that can become, well, catastrophic later in life.
And what are those two? Those two functional limitations that cardio just can't touch?
They are sarcopenia, which is the natural age-related decline and loss of muscle tissue, and osteoporosis.
Bone fragility.
The fragility and loss of density in your bones.
Yeah.
Think of it this way. You can have perfect blood pressure, a heart that runs like a clock. But if your bones are brittle and your muscles can't support you, a simple stumble can lead to a hip fracture.
Which is statistically just devastating.
It's often the beginning at the end of independent living.
So we're really talking about functionality here. Cardio won't stop the muscle from fading or the bones from weakening, but resistance training, that's the only proven thing that actively combats both at the same time.
Precisely. It's a dual-action intervention. And that brings us to understanding why muscle is so much more than just this, mechanical sleeve covering your skeleton.
Right.
Let's talk about why it's truly the organ of resilience.
Okay, so mechanically, I think we all get it. Strong arms and legs help you open a jar or lift your luggage. The functional strength is obvious. But the research points to a much deeper, more systemic, almost hidden role for muscle. What does that actually entail?
Well, even mechanically, we often overlook the essential sort of mundane tasks, stabilizing your spine when you sit, supporting your posture.
Things we take for granted.
Totally.
Yeah.
And providing a literal shield for your joints. But the research is now focusing on the biological buffer that high muscle mass creates against systemic decline. When we look at these large longitudinal studies, The evidence is just compelling. Higher muscle mass is statistically connected to a significantly lower risk of serious systemic conditions, way beyond just movement.
Like what specifically?
The data shows connections to reduced risk of type 2 diabetes, certain forms of cancer, and maybe most fascinatingly, dementia and cognitive decline.
That connection, muscle mass protecting against dementia, that is the ultimate aha moment. It completely shifts how you think about doing a simple squat. Why does that link exist?
It exists because we have to stop thinking of muscle as just a collection of fibers. The research confirms it's the largest organ in the body by mass.
The largest organ.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when it's stimulated, it functions fundamentally as an endocrine organ. This is a huge paradigm shift for most people.
I think we're used to thinking of, the thyroid or the pancreas as endocrine organs that release hormones. What is muscle releasing that makes it so powerful?
When you lift weights or even do bodyweight exercises against enough resistance, that mechanical stress triggers the release of signaling molecules. They're called myokines.
Myokines.
And these aren't just local hormones. They're powerful chemical communicators that travel throughout your entire body.
So the training isn't just about ripping and repairing tissue to get stronger. It's about forcing your body to send out a chemical signal, like a system reset button.
Exactly that. What's fascinating here is muscle isn't just mechanical tissue. It's a key regulator of longevity. The myokines released during resistance training, they start these positive changes far, far outside the muscle that you actually trained.
Can you give us a few specific examples? What are these myokines doing in the body?
Certainly. One critical function is regulating inflammation. You can think of myokines as these highly specialized firefighters.
Okay.
When you have that chronic low-grade inflammation that's aging your body, myokines step in to dampen that response. That helps protect tissues everywhere, including the lining of your blood vessels. They're also masters of your metabolism. They drastically improve your insulin sensitivity.
Which is a huge deal.
It's a huge deal. Poor insulin sensitivity is the direct precursor to type 2 diabetes. So by engaging your muscles, you're creating this biological demand for energy that helps keep your metabolism youthful and efficient.
Okay, and let's connect it back to the brain. How does a bicep curl help protect against dementia?
Well, one of the myokines released stimulates the production of something called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor.
That's a mouthful.
It is, but you can just think of it as fertilizer for your brain cells.
Yeah.
It supports the growth of new neurons. It strengthens synaptic connections. The idea is that maintaining muscle mass creates this constant supply of these neuroprotective agents.
So you're building a cognitive buffer against decline.
You are building a buffer.
That, that is just such a powerful analogy. It's like proactive internal medicine applied through effort. But if we aren't triggering those myokine releases through training, the natural process of aging, it tends to go down a more destructive path. Let's talk about the cost of weakness and what happens when we neglect this vital organ.
The cost is, it's a significant loss of function, and it's compounded by metabolic disorder. As we age without intervention, the sources confirm that muscle doesn't just shrink, that's sarcopenia, but, crucially, fat infiltrates the tissue.
And we're not just talking about being overweight here. This is fat within the actual muscle itself.
Yes, it has a clinical name that really describes how serious it is. Myosteatosis.
Myosteatosis?
Yeah. If you imagine a healthy cut of meat, it's lean. Myosteatosis is like looking at a piece of marbled steak. The functional muscle fibers are interspersed with and replaced by fat cells. This muscle is weak, it's floppy, and it's metabolically dysfunctional.
So it's not just inefficient at moving you around, it's actively sabotaging your systemic health.
That's exactly right. And this leads to a serious domino effect. Dysfunctional, fat marbled muscle. It significantly raises your risk of diabetes because of that poor insulin sensitivity. It accelerates frailty, and most critically, it drastically increases the risk of falls.
Because the weak muscle can't react quickly enough to stabilize you.
It can't. And falls are that catastrophic event that signals the end of true independence for far too many older adults. The ability to just get up off the floor after a fall is a huge indicator of long-term health.
It's the ultimate metric of function, isn't it?
It really is. And this is where the bone connection becomes so vital. Weak muscle fails to send the necessary signals to your skeleton. You see, the sources confirm that strong muscle contraction pulls on the bone, which signals it to increase its density. It's a process governed by Wolff's Law. Without that strong stimulus from resistance training, bones just become vulnerable to osteoporosis and fractures.
So the loss of muscle is a double whammy.
A double whammy. It makes you more likely to fall, and it makes the injury from that fall catastrophic. If you sustain a major fracture, the loss of mobility often accelerates both metabolic and cognitive decline. The research is clear. Resistance training is the key to decoupling that injury risk from the loss of independence.
Okay, the narrative so far is urgent. And it might feel a bit intimidating for someone who hasn't lifted a weight in 20 years. They might be thinking, that ship has sailed for me.
That's it.
But there is incredibly encouraging news in the source material. It shows that muscle tissue stays responsive throughout our lifespan.
That is the necessary dose of optimism here. And the research is absolutely clear on this. Studies consistently show that older adults can still add muscle and strength, even people well past the age of 70. The human body, and specifically muscle tissue, remains remarkably plastic. It's responsive to the stimulus of resistance training.
You can rebuild the buffer.
You can rebuild this buffer. It is never too late to start reaping those mechanical and endocrine benefits. And we have to underscore this. Resistance training is the single proven intervention.
The only one.
It's the only intervention proven to directly combat both sarcopenia and osteoporosis at the same time. I mean, medications might address bone density issues, but nothing creates that powerful combination of protective structure, metabolic efficiency, and systemic myokine signaling that challenging your muscles does.
A lot of listeners might find the gym intimidating, though, or the idea of heavy lifting just seems boring or scary. Does the research provide a minimum effective dose? Do we have to be bench pressing heavy iron to get these benefits?
Not at all. And the source material is very clear about this. The goal is resistance, not necessarily maximal weightlifting. The key is just challenging the muscle enough to trigger those myokine releases. For a beginner, this could be simple bodyweight exercises, squats, lunges, maybe push-ups against a wall, or using resistance bands.
So you don't need a gym membership on day one?
Not at all. The stimulus has to be progressive, which just means you push a little harder over time, but you don't need to feel overwhelmed. The benefits start accruing immediately, even with very simple methods.
This really sounds like a global health consensus, one that's emphasizing quality of life.
Precisely. Global health experts now universally agree. Resistance training is non-negotiable for healthy aging. And this brings us back to that original distinction we made. Cardio helps you live longer by protecting your heart. Resistance training ensures you live better.
Better by preserving function, mobility, and metabolic health.
Yes. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the resilience of your entire system depends on starting this intervention. The urgency is just rooted in the fact that waiting accelerates the decline. Every decade without resistance training is accelerating muscle loss, bone fragility, metabolic decline. Starting now, even with simple methods, preserves your ability to lift your own groceries, to carry your own luggage, and ultimately to age optimally on your own terms.
This has been illuminating, grounding, and frankly, deeply motivating. So what does this all mean? The synthesis is crystal clear. Cardio is mandatory for the heart and circulation. You should never drop it. But muscle is the organ of resilience. It's the biological buffer that protects everything else. Resistance training is the key to keeping your body strong, your bones dense, your brain sharp, and your metabolism youthful. If you are not lifting, pushing, or pulling against resistance, you are neglecting the single most powerful and proactive way to age well and maintain your independence.
That's the core takeaway. And here's a final thought for you to mull over based on all this content. Consider this. If muscle is truly an endocrine organ, a chemical communication hub, then the process of resistance training is less about aesthetics or achieving a specific fitness goal and more about directly influencing the chemistry, the signaling, and the fundamental longevity pathways of your body. You are creating your own personalized preventative pharmaceutical system every single time you train.